Is eating big and training hard the secret to bodybuilding success and unrivaled gains? Well, today we're going to talk about this mystery compound which is wrapped in fear and excitement and expectation, and about whether or not Trenbolone actually lives up to the hype. So I've been on Anabolics for a few years now, and when I set out on this journey, I had a few simple rules in mind. Try and do this as safely as possible, try and do this as intelligently as possible, try and get the most from the least, and most importantly, stay away from Tren. The aversion to Tren for me was more about persona and personality and its effects that bleed through into your personal life. Trenbolone is very much the only perpetrator, in my opinion, to the concept that steroids give you roid rage or these other personality changing effects. It really is only present in a select few compounds which may be particularly neurotoxic, such as Trenbolone, and things which maybe have a significant impact on areas like sex drive, which can of course attribute towards aggression. Basically, I didn't want to become any more of a dickhead than I already am, and Trenbolone to me seemed a one-way ticket to relationship meltdown and life-changing results, both in terms of my physique, but also in terms of the impact on my home life. So what changed? Why have I jumped on Trenbolone? Well, there's a few simple reasons for this, one of which is that, quite simply, the aggressive sexual benefits are something which I could do with after a long period of time on nandrolone. The reason why I personally wanted to move away from nandrolone, and I was using NPP, not decadurablin, for anyone who's curious. But for those of you who are familiar with decadurablin, you'll probably also be familiar with the side effect decadic. Now, this isn't something which really most people experience from NPP, the faster acting brother of Deca. However, it definitely has an effect on sexual function. I found myself to feel low libido when I was on 1.5 grams of drugs. And quite simply, I was in a bit of a rut. I felt depressed, anxious. So what did I decide to do? Under the safer use models pioneered by Victor Black, I'll mention him so he doesn't come for me on Instagram. The other alternative to MPP is Trenbolone. Now, Trenbolone comes with its own unique set of benefits. It's protein sparing, which makes it great for a diet, but also it's very powerful. You don't need much of it. You can reap really great rewards from like 100 milligrams to 150 milligrams tops. You can get away with fairly low exposure, low oil volume, which is a godsend for me, pinning 1,000 milligrams of Primo, which we will get into in an upcoming video because that shit has been fun. Trenbolone is fairly unrivaled in terms of its protein sparing effects, its cosmetic effects, its anabolic benefits, the ability to retain muscle on a diet. So I knew at some point I'd have to dive into these waters. The question was when. Now, for me, I'm not sure whether or not I'll be doing a 2023 contest prep. So for me now, time's ticking. I've got 2 potential cycles, if I make them short ones, between now and potentially coming off before a contest prep. So what do? Do I wait until the point where I'm in a really fragile place? I'm on low calories, I'm going to be irritable anyway, and then I'm going to be introducing a drug in there that could potentially change my personality, make me more aggressive, more irritable, and worse to be around. Well, after last contest prep, barely using any drugs, just using testosterone and Primo, granted I was over dieted, I knew that that wasn't the wisest choice. My relationship would break down, I'd say something that I regret, and prep would fail because my personal life would start getting in the way because the drugs are getting in the way. So at the end of the day, it would be due to the drug protocol. What's the alternative? Well, it's to introduce Trenbolone to one of the 2 cycles in between now and then. I'm on about week 15, as I said now. Why not get the short-acting version of Trenbolone, acetate, and actually utilize that and bring it into the cycle at the end of this blast just to see how I tolerate it, whether there's many changes. And I've got to say, there were a few. The first anticipated change that I had, which was a bit of a worry for me, wasn't one that was maybe in the mainstream of knowledge about Trenbolone, but it's this appetite suppressing effects. It can take a bit of a hit on appetite, and this for me, when I'm on a 5,400 calorie bulk, was not good news. This is not what I want when I'm already having to force feed and wanting to throw up every time I'm in the gym. But I'm happy to say it's had minimal effects. It has made it harder, but I think when you're at that brick wall point of the bulk, hard is just hard. It's not going to get any more impossible when it's already impossible. And I could go longer without food before feeling like an actual need for it. Usually, even when I'm peak bulk, if I miss a meal, I'll notice it. But on Tren, I haven't really noticed it. It does mean you have to be a bit more on top of your shit. So generally speaking, the appetite suppressing effects, I haven't found too much of a problem. And in fact, if anything, I'm imagining they're going to be a godsend in contest prep. Now let's talk about the main reason I jumped from MPP to Trenbolone. the sexual side effects. Almost everything they've said about Trenbolone is true. There are certain points where the aggression comes out. One of which is definitely in the gym. That's great. I don't potentially have better energy. Like, I've been using a bit of an average, below average pre-workout at the minute. So I don't really feel aggressive through my whole session. I still feel that pre-workout isn't hitting the spot for me. It doesn't pick up the slack on that front. But as soon as I go to lift that bar up, something just clicks. And I've only ever had this like once or twice before, but it's an incredible feeling. The aggression comes out. Like, I'm grunting in low tones that I've never grunted before while shifting a barbell. And yeah, generally speaking, I'm squeezing more reps out. I'm feeling more confident with the bar. I am feeling more animalistic. And I would say that it is much more akin to proper fucking training, proper British spit and sawdust training, now that I'm on Trenbolone. And you can't always attribute all of that to that, but because I was feeling quite sluggish in the gym before, I didn't really have that mentality. And the only thing that's changed is Tren. I'm going to say that it's done a vast majority of it. Now, there's going to be some placebo in there, some of them me knowing that I'm on Tren and thinking, oh, great, I can attack this. But honestly, sometimes I'll be yawning before a set. I'll slump back in the seat and smash out the best set I've ever done. So yeah, that's great. That's really good time to get the aggression out. The other place that it comes out is definitely in the bedroom. My sex drive is already high. Trenbolone is definitely making that worse. It's definitely released any form of inhibitions I had. I would be prepared. It is something to behold, and you may not get much done if you don't have a strong outlet for it. It's all about muscle building. How does it stack up? Well, I've only been on it for a few weeks. I can't really say for sure. Yeah, it's Tren A, so it saturates quite quickly. But generally speaking, it's comparable. There is a slight aesthetic difference with Tren. I don't know what to put my finger on. It's less of a round look, more of a kind of gnarly look that you get to your muscle, I guess. It's a very mild cosmetic benefit when you're in a bulk. It probably comes into its own when you're in a prep. I would say it's comparable. I'm using 100 milligrams currently versus 200 milligrams of MPP. And I feel like the results I'm getting are pretty much the same, if not even a little bit more. Tren, you can expect some great things from muscle building wise, but personally, I utilize safer use models. So I'm never going to utilize this really above like 200 milligrams, 250 milligrams maybe in a heavy prep. So I don't really have to worry about how well it stacks up as a primary muscle builder. I imagine it would be great, but I imagine it would also cause detrimental blood markers, which would go against everything that I believe in terms of utilizing anabolics. So yeah, that's not for me. Primo and test definitely way outweighing it in my cycle design. So would I recommend Trenbolone? Well, no, because I'm not a fucking doctor. I'm never going to do that. You know that. You almost got me, YouTube. There's a reason why I didn't want to utilize Tren, and those reasons haven't diminished simply because I've now started to use it. I haven't gone, I've changed my mind. It's not that bad. Trenbolone is still that bad. It's a calculated decision to utilize it now, and I'm only using it for a few weeks. Maybe I'll use it next blast if I get on a bit better, which I feel like I do, but I'll still be keeping it to a really restricted dose. The main problems with Tren are that, first of all, it's really attractive to a young crowd. There's an obsession about Tren because it's sort of like a meme drug. Teenagers on the internet, on TikTok, on Instagram, post memes and fucking stupid videos about Trenbolone all the time, when in reality they're the worst person to utilize it. It is neurotoxic. It is pretty much everything fucking toxic, and it will screw you up in the long run. You don't want to spend long periods of time exposed to Trenbolone. You will start to feel it. I know a lot of people who have had to come off simply because they feel fatigued from Tren. So I would say proceed with caution. It's more than acceptable to utilize Trenbolone in the off season, as long as you're not just doing it for a fucking weekend in Ibiza. You've got to be doing this for competitive reasons, where there's a genuine goal, aspiration, and long-term plan, or it's your major dream. You can't just be an average bodybuilder and say that Trenbolone is worth it for you, because you can definitely get the same results elsewhere. Does Trenbolone make you feel more on? Yeah, you've got the aggression. There's a bit of that placebo energy that you get when you're on Trenbolone. But honestly, effects-wise, the devil's in the detail for bodybuilders. But for most of the general public, you really don't need to worry about the unique benefits that Trenbolone can bring to you. You just need to look at the impact on your health and understand it's probably not worth it. It's still early in my use, and I'm sure there's much, much more to come. And I'll be giving you a full review very, very soon. Do take it with a pinch of salt. Everyone's different. I know some people who have jumped on 100 mgs, 150 mgs of Tren, and they've had to pull it out within days because it's just royally fucked them up mentally. So make sure that you're in a stable place if you are going to use this. Not that I recommend that you do. Make sure, as I said, you're aware of the side effects. As positive as they may seem, make sure that you actually have an outlet for them. You don't want to become an aggressive prick in your day because, you're not getting it at night. And if you're in a bulk, just make sure you're extra conscious about getting those calories in. Speaking of which, it's time for meal 4, but thank you very much for bearing with me for getting this video live. It's been a roller coaster of a month. Maybe I'll get into it at some point. Let me know your experience of Tren down in the comments. Drop a like, and I will see you in the next one.